My friends call me Dr. GPT. They know I love AI. I love AI in healthcare. I'm worried that some of the future colleagues will start growing up in this world of AI and having this feeling that the gold standard is AI, meaning that whatever AI says, that's probably right, and if not 100% right.
The AI Grapple, where the future begins.
Welcome to the AI Grapple podcast. My name is Kate vanderVoort, founder and CEO of Social Mediology and the AI Success Lab. Today we are joined by Dr. Harvey Castro, a trailblazer in the intersection of AI and healthcare. He is also known as Dr. GPT. Harvey shares his inspiring journey from developing innovative healthcare apps during the iPhone's early days to leveraging generative AI to transform patient care. In this conversation, we dive deep into how AI is enabling hyper-personalised medicine, improving patient-doctor communication, and tackling global challenges like healthcare workforce shortages. Dr. Castro also addresses the ethical dilemmas, data privacy concerns, and the crucial role of maintaining human oversight in the rapidly evolving AI landscape. If you are curious about how AI is shaping the future of healthcare, then this episode is for you. Welcome to the AI Grapple podcast.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited knowing that you're on the other side of the world and we're having a conversation like we're right next to each other.
Yep, evening for you, morning for me. So I am so excited to dive into this conversation with you. I've given a bit of an introduction about who you are, but maybe with your you have extensive background in medicine and technological innovation. Can you share a bit about your journey and what has inspired you to explore the integration of AI into healthcare?
Yeah, I hate to go way, way back, but I'm going to take you back to the first iPhone. The first iPhone came out and I had just graduated from residency and we're doing CPR on a patient in the emergency room. And I told the nurse, let's start this medication. She basically went and got a textbook because back then that was the way to do it. You get a textbook. She went through it. She got a calculator out and started doing the calculations and went and got the medicine. And I'm looking at her and looking at the patient and thinking, oh my gosh, I know every second counts. And I know the sooner we get this medicine, the higher probability this person has to live. And I thought, man, there's got to be something I can do to speed up this process. So I took it upon myself to make a calculator for dosing for patients on the iPhone, figured out how to do an app, and made the first medication called IV Med app in the world, and it went viral. It did so well that I was able to pay for a full team to help me make 40 more applications. Fast forward, ironically, it's almost been 2 years, a little over 2 years now. I was in this office playing on the computer and this website came up, ChatGPT. I was like, let me check it out. And immediately my brain just exploded. I thought, this is going to change the world. In fact, within the first couple of minutes, I remember just being like a little kid. I ran out of this office, went to my wife and I said, honey, I'm going to write a book on how to use ChatGPT in healthcare and it's going to change the world and we're going to do all these amazing things. And she's like, what's ChatGPT? And what are you talking about? So then I kind of explained what I saw on the computer and how this thing is working. And I just was like, oh my gosh, you gotta come. And she's like, honey, please don't do this. Don't go out there. Like, people are going to think you're crazy. People don't know what you're talking about. And you're just too early to this game. And so big picture, I thought, you know what, man, what should I do? And it was getting close to the holidays because it was, around this time of year. And I said, you know what, I'm going to write this book. I don't care. I'm going to do it. And within a couple of weeks, actually had it out on the market. And so that's kind of the big picture of how I got into AI.
I love hearing about people's ChatGPT moments. And I think this time 2 years ago, there were so many of us who were already really well established in what we were doing, but suddenly saw the, ChatGPT and just could see immediately what that
what that means. So, obviously the AI Grapple podcast is about grappling with some of these big issues. And if there's one place where I think it has such profound benefit and challenge, it's healthcare. So can you talk to us a bit, those first moments where you were starting to see the implications for how generative AI could impact healthcare? What were those thoughts like? What kind of things were you seeing early on, and how's that played out in terms of the opportunities for AI and healthcare?
Yeah. One of the first things I noticed for me was just education. For me, the brainstorming, being able to have a conversation with someone or a mentor or colleague, I thought, wow, this thing can kind of spar with me and I can have fun and talk to it and go back and forth and really take me to another level. One of the second things I noticed playing with it, I thought, working in the emergency room, one of the biggest challenges is something as simple as communication. You see, I used to work right next to an airport, and that airport, if anyone got sick in the world, I was coming to Dallas. I was the closest hospital to that airport, and they literally would take them from the plane on an ambulance and straight to me. And so one of my biggest challenges was talking to people from all over the world, different languages, cultures, and being able to communicate. And I thought, wow, if I could take AI and it's 2 a.m. and combine it with the language component and speak to them in another language, communicate, not just speak, but when I say communicate, case in point, I'm here in Texas. Football is really big. And when I say football, we're talking American football. But if I say football outside of the US, it's soccer. It's not even that word exists. Something as simple as that, if I'm giving a medical example and doing an analogy and saying this is the correlation, if I can't communicate with simple cultural things, then I'm not communicating with you. And so I thought, man, if I could use AI, just a simple communication, I could take things to the next level. In fact, you'll like this example. About 2 months ago, I did a TED Talk on AI and humans working together to improve healthcare. And one of my first couple examples, I say, imagine a child that is having an asthma attack and they're scared, and you get them through that hump of having the asthma attack, but now you have to send that child home. The parents are told what to do with asthma, how to treat it, but the child really doesn't get it. They're a child. Imagine talking to a 3, 4, 5-year-old. You only get so much time. But what if I took AI, I took the discharge instructions, put them into the AI and just took the core principles of what I'm trying to teach that child. And now I take those core principles and convert it into a coloring book using generative AI. And now instead of giving papers, I go to the child and give them a coloring book. And now we can color together and I can explain asthma. We're having fun. And now totally get it and truly think they're less likely to come to the hospital because now they understand their disease that much more.
Love that. Have you done any putting those instructions into a song in Suno?
Oh my gosh. So that's kind of funny you say that. Every conversation I do, anytime I give a talk anywhere in the world, I always end with a Suno song. What I do is I use my lyrics, my conference, what I'm talking about, and then I put and then I also customize the song to that region. So if I'm in Texas, it may be a country song. If it's an area that hip hop is really big, I'll do hip hop, and people love ending it there.
I do exactly the same. And that technology is mind blowing. I've created songs for my kids' classes this year as they're ending the school year that name all the kids in the class. I'm getting all these messages from the parents going, you're magic. How are you doing that? But just thinking about, how we can use music I've been thinking about it from an education perspective around studying. But as you were talking, I can see the implications too for helping kids get across their medical challenges by turning it into a song that, they remember at 3:00 in the morning, which AI songs are really good at doing.
And let me interrupt you. The second example that I use is for the older kids. I use large language models and I feed those core principles into a comic strip. And now I give the older kids a comic strip and they really enjoy going through and like, okay, this is kind of fun. This is not the boring newspaper or the boring discharge instructions. It's actually a comic strip, and then they get the kick out of it. And then for my older kids, I clone my face, my voice, and I'll I know it's not the greatest, and I do it on purpose because I know when they see it, they start laughing because they see me as a doctor, really serious, but then they see this playful side of me and joking, and it's like kind of funny. And then I don't use my voice. I actually love using like a British accent or something other. That way they hear that accent like, okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, and with video avatars, that real-time language translation too, I imagine, is really applicable in healthcare, and being able to create customized health care plans for people in their own language is, even that on its own, is game-changing. So one of the things that I often think about with healthcare, and which I've been very focused on in marketing, is hyper-personalisation. So one of the things I'm seeing, my doctor in particular has started using AI, and instead of her sitting at a computer and I'm talking to her, she's not even looking at me, she's at the computer, typing notes in. Now she actually turns and faces to me because AI is translating our conversation or putting our conversation straight into the computer. Can you give us some of those other innovations, I guess, that are emerging in healthcare that really help humanize the medical profession and really help that connection between patient and doctor?
One of the other points, I'm kind of reciting some of the TED Talk points because these are just fresh on my mind. When you see a doctor, unfortunately, especially when you get bad news or something that's a life-changing event, I call it the Charlie Brown moment, that after that second, you don't know what the doctor said. You're just nodding, but you're not listening because you're still thinking, oh my gosh, I have cancer. Oh my gosh, I have this disease. And it's really difficult to explain things to patients because as a doctor, we tell our patients, did you understand? Did you get it? Feel free to ask questions. And often we're like, oh no, doc, I got it. I understand. I'm just thinking about it. And in my heart, I'm like, I'm pretty sure they did not understand. So I give another example, like your presentation just now with your doctor. If you can record it and clone the face, or even just record it in live and then send that discharge video to the patient, that way 2 a.m, when the patient's emotionally ready, when their heart's ready to say, okay, or when a loved one's like, hey, what did the doctor say? You have the video to be able to talk. Not that the doctor's not available, but it may be 2 a.m, maybe the weekend where they may not be available. Maybe the person's on call that could talk to you, but it's not the person you want to talk to. So that's another way of how we can use technology really to customize, to make it specific for that patient.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. And I've recently had skin cancer surgery, and sometimes it takes my doctor, I have to go every 3 months for checkups now, but it can take 2 or 3 checkups for the visual signs of that to show up. And the thought of me going and standing in an AI machine and having it just scan and knowing that it would pick up a microscopic change is very exciting. In terms of some of the technology that you're seeing, what excites you most about the technology that's evolving in healthcare?
Honestly, there's so many. The two that come to mind immediately, it's just the being able to have predictive analytics that'll tell you years before the disease has happened. Case in point, there's a blood test for Parkinson's disease, and that you can do a blood test, and 7 years before you might have Parkinson's disease, it'll tell you.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Because let's just pretend there's no cure. The fact that 7 years ahead, I personally, I know it varies by personality and how you see things, but for me personally, I would want that. So then I know, okay, let me see what the latest technology, let's see what I can do. Can I eat differently? Can I do X, Y, and Z? How can I slow this disease? Is there any clinical trials that maybe I can start getting on? That way I know ahead of time. The second is, I truly believe that our healthcare system is going to help us live longer and better. Not just live longer to live longer, but live with a healthy lifestyle that we're older, but we're healthy enough to enjoy those years. And so that's one thing that makes me excited. The second, I'm just blown away when I know that AI can use something like AlphaFold, where in medical school, we're taught that every time we give a medicine, it's like we're giving the key to a lock, and we're giving that unlocks that mechanism to open a door towards healing that disease process. This AI, what it's doing is actually figuring out what that 3D model looks like so that we can make better keys to fit into that model. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is really going to start saving lives because number one, it's going to decrease the cost of what some of these medications cost to make. So if it costs $1 billion, maybe now it costs about $100 million. Yes, it's a lot of money. But the pharmaceutical company, knowing that this price has come down, they're more likely to address some disease processes that are so rare that it doesn't make financial sense for them to do it. But now, since the price has come down, unfortunately for them saying that, but fortunately for us to be able to heal people that may not have been able to get healing due to AI. So I'm just so excited to see how this is really going to save lives.
And do you think we're going to get to a point where it is that hyper-personalized, where medication is almost made just for my variety of, because I know, having seen family members and friends go through chronic illness, there's often a combination of medications that are needed, and there are elements of those medications that they don't need, but one is supporting another or counteracting another symptom. Do you think we'll get to the point where you get really customized treatment plans that are so highly attuned to you as an individual that it is only suitable for you as the individual?
Yeah, let me explain. If I do a genetic test on you, there's so much data that my brain can handle all the genes, and now this research came out with this gene and this does this. It's just so much information. But if I'm able to use AI to now take your genetic makeup, put it all together and say, literally today, some new gene was discovered that has XY consequence, the computer can tell me, hey, Kate has this gene. It was just identified today. Let's give her a call and let her know that she's at risk for X, Y, and Z. Now, to answer your point, I really see a future where that same example I just gave you, now I know more how your body reacts. Now I give you the least amount of medicine to get the effect that I need. So for drug A, I foresee a future where you have a printer at home, I authorize, and it will print your medication. And not just print your medication, your dose for you, not for your husband, not for your kid, although maybe your kids might be genetically somewhat similar, so that might work, but in reality, for you. And so what does that mean? Man, now I can lower the dose of some medications. And more importantly, using AI, I truly think CRISPR technology where I can change your genetic makeup for some of the diseases you have will be a huge hit. For example, my grandfather has macular degeneration and my poor grandpa, he cannot see. And I know that I've been tested and I have the same gene. So I know in my heart that I need to do something. And I know that there's some clinical stage 1 trials right now. And I'm hoping that by the time I am older, that's already a thing and I can get a shot or some kind of gene therapy and I don't have macular degeneration. So those kind of examples, I really think it's going to be common.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so, the example I often give is, will we be in a future where the ambulance turns up at your door before you have the heart attack? And it sounds like some of what you're talking about is that real ability to have preventative medicine and to really address things earlier, which is very exciting. So are there any other amazing opportunities that you're seeing or that you want to share before we dive into some of the more challenging and ethical issues?
Yeah, no, I want to say that example of what you just said. Really hope and pray that we're going to go away from reactive medicine, meaning you're only going to come see me when you're sick, to proactive. And the way we will get there is with these wearable technologies. This thing, I have a continuous glucose monitor, not because I'm a diabetic, because it's more to lose weight, to see how my body reacts. And so I can look at this watch right now and it tells me exactly what my sugar is. Imagine a world where these monitors are not just sensing everything, but hearing everything. Case in point, this algorithm of you hearing my voice, if I put AI, there's a certain AI I can put on here and I can tell if you're pre-diabetic. It would tell me your age. It would tell me your blood pressure. But more importantly, our voice is going to be another factor, where it's analyzing. The easy one is, depression. Yeah, he sounds depressed. But what about diabetes? What about other diseases where it's just listening and it's telling you? Now we're shifting from reactive medicine to proactive. And so I just can't imagine how AI is going to keep making this better and better and accessible, where every day technology, your phone will be like, hey, your sugar's going up. Hey, you may want to check with your psychiatrist. You're starting to show more symptoms just with the conversations I'm noticing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember hearing someone speak about technology that they've implemented in Africa where they recorded, I think it was 100,000 baby cries and mapped
Yes.
them to symptoms.
Yes.
So, mothers in developing countries can actually record their baby cry and match it to, so you start to get some of that predictive healthcare, which is really mind blowing. And I've always been very passionate about holistic healthcare, and I'm certainly open to natural therapies and complementary therapies. And I think AI is going to help us bridge some of those gaps, because often people are one or the other. And I think there's some potential for just a more holistic view of health that AI is going to bring, which is very exciting. So many possibilities and opportunities when we start to look at some of the challenges that come with that, because there is no doubt that with those opportunities, there are challenges around ethics and privacy and bias and hallucinations. So let's explore some of those a little. When it comes to the ethics and how medical practitioners are using AI in their practice, what are you seeing in that space, or what's your approach to the ethics of AI in healthcare?
There's so much there. Let's start with dividing it. We have things that are structured data and unstructured. And just for giggles, let's just say there's an AI that is very specific for radiology that most of us are kind of accustomed to, saying, okay, the AI read the x-ray or is just helping the doctor out or detecting your case, that skin cancer, saying there was a change, and you're okay with it because you're like, it's pretty black and white. We're being transparent. You know what's going on. Two, you're participating and you're part of it. The part that I have an ethical issue and problem is when the hospital systems or the healthcare system is not telling you that they're using AI, that they're not being transparent. That's number one. Number two, I'm very worried about our healthcare professionals being dependent on AI. My friends call me Dr. GPT. They know I love AI. I love AI in healthcare. With that said, I'm very concerned for the new generations coming up because I have 20 years of clinical gestalt, 20 years of experience, 20 years that I've been using this noggin. And I'm worried that some of the future colleagues will start growing up in this world of AI and having this feeling that the gold standard is AI, meaning that whatever AI says, that's probably right. And if not 100% right. And I love my older physicians, the physicians that have been out for a while, because they challenge AI. They're like, no, it made a mistake. Oh, it hallucinated. No, it did this. And when I see some of my younger colleagues that are still in training or just out of residency, I'm hearing these stories of them using AI, submitting papers as if they wrote them, but it was AI that wrote them for medical purposes. I've heard of some physicians that are depending so much that the AI is writing the note for them and they're not really checking it and seeing if it's correct and then submitting it as part of a medical legal document and realizing later that the AI hallucinated. And so I'm really worried that if we're not careful by teaching our healthcare professionals and the future leaders, that we're going to start having a gap in some of our healthcare.
Yeah, and when you look at it alongside other issues of power and, what happens when the electricity goes out and people who don't have all of that experience don't have the AI to refer to. And, we're seeing more and more natural disasters and situations where there might not be a computer that can tell you what to do. Do you see it changing education for medical students? So I imagine that it will really enhance their personalized learning and their ability to learn about what they're most interested in. But is it also going to potentially shorten medical degrees or reduce the breadth of knowledge that maybe medical professionals have?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I'm torn on that one. I personally think, and this is my take-home message, I truly think that human plus AI will beat the best AI or the best human.
Love that.
And with that statement, I truly think that if the right doctor someone like me that knows AI, knows when it hallucinates, has that experience, but then can combine it with AI, I'm more powerful in a way than just my human or just the AI. And with that statement, if I could bring it into the medical school, teach medical students, guide them, and give them ways of using the AI, but then supervise how the AI's, the output that's coming out of it and helping them grow quicker, then I truly think some students may graduate in 3 years from med school. Some may continue going 4 years in med school. Some may need 5 years. But my point is, I really think this is a way to accelerate our knowledge. Case in point, if I could take all the knowledge of all the medical students, the best practices, feed it into AI, and then extract that education and distribute it throughout the world. On the bias side, it will be biased because I'm using one standard. But on the bright side, I'm taking best practices, best ways of explaining pictures, illustrations. Now our level will get there quicker. And so I really think if you're careful and you do it right, something as simple as the Apple Vision Pro and putting this thing on as a med student. Believe it or not, the favorite phrase of mine in med school was see one, do one, teach one. Meaning, hey, Harvey, we're intubating a patient. Come over here and take a look. And I'd see it. And they're like, okay, Harvey, you just saw it. Let's go over here. Now it's your turn. And I'm like, oh my God, I just saw this. I read about it. I just saw it. And then after I do it, they're like, okay, Harvey, now go teach the next guy or woman. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But if I put this bad boy on and I do it 100 times, then by the time I really do it, it's so much better. So I think that's another way. On the flip side, you, the patient, including myself, imagine if I put this on my patient and I said, this is why I need you to take your medicine. And I walk you through your heart and your lungs and show you why your medicine works the way it does. Now you can see your body and see how this medicine works. Wouldn't you more likely to take your medicine? So that's just a future how I see this will help, or AI in general.
Yeah, and I love that about I'm always looking for how does AI actually help us be more human? And I think out of every sector, healthcare is the one where, if you've got AI doing some of the heavy lifting and the manual repetitive tasks that you need to do, the note-taking, the documentation, then it does free humans up to connect with humans and to be more human. So I completely agree that AI and human together is always going to be better than either of their own.
Yeah, and let me throw one more empathy point. My favorite phrase is, we don't know what we don't know. If I could take a video with the permission of the patient and the doctor and feed it through the AI and it report back to the doctor, here are all the things that you did correct, but here are all the things that you didn't do correct. You cut the patient off 3 times. You never looked at the patient. You were talking and never stopped. You never paused. You never acknowledge the patient. You never summarize. Then the doctor can be like, whoa, my empathy kind of sucks. Let me work on this. Let me do more for my patient. So I think, ironically, AI can help us be more empathetic and improve our healthcare.
Yeah, and you spoke earlier about that using AI as a thought partner or a sounding board. I think that's a great application for it. What do you say to people when they raise concerns with you around data privacy and that if AI is recording so much information about us, how do we protect that information? How do we ensure that it's never used against somebody in their health journey?
No, that's a great question. Obviously, we all have heard of 23andMe and some of the privacy issues that 23andMe has had, and the issues of is our genetics going to predetermine us where maybe we can't get health insurance or X and Y happens because now that data is out there. That is an issue. I think our world leaders need to make sure that they protect us, our privacy, our rights, and that they make sure that they do everything they can in their power to make sure that technology can continue to improve, but not to the point where it's going to start harming people. And I think it's really important to have in the United States HIPAA compliancy, in Europe, the GDPR, and all these laws and regulations to make sure that we are protecting people. I am worried that if this technology is not checked correctly, it could be used for things that we don't. We've already heard the news showing that some insurance companies are using AI to help them decline or what is not decline? Yeah, decline any claims that are coming saying, no, we're not going to pay for that, so that they're using AI to help increase the declines. That way they can save more money and have more money for the insurance company. So I want to make sure that we keep that balance, that we're doing the right thing for the patient. As a doctor, my heart's all about let's do whatever's best for our patients and let's keep the human touch involved.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the other things I was going to raise with you was that AI in decision making, so that, when resources are thin, does AI start making decisions about who gets the treatment or who gets the medical care? And that's a good example where insurance companies are already starting to do that. And yeah, one that I'm very keeping a close eye on, because I think AI decision making is fraught with, particularly when there's no human oversight that can bring context or bring logical, rational thought to that process.
I agree. It's a very scary world we live in, but at the same time, I'm a little bit of an optimist. I think we just got to do what's right and do whatever we think is best. That's why I love giving my talks. I try my best to show how AI can be used for good, because I know there'll be plenty of people out there showing all the negatives. So let me show at least some positive applications and how we can help humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to ask you one more curly question before we start wrapping up. A lot of people I am speaking to at the moment are still in their very early days of understanding what AI even is. And so they have the Terminator in their mind. They've watched all these movies about AI hijacking heart monitors and heart valves. And is that a potential future for us where AI does start making decisions without our knowledge or consent around our healthcare? Or how do you address that fear for people?
I pray and hope, and I'm not worried about my generation, but I pray and hope that we will continue, that the human will be in the loop. AI doesn't have a medical license. The human has the medical license, and that applies in different verticals. And at the end of the day, it has to have that human in the loop, where that doctor or human is checking the AI and making sure that it's correct. With that said, the reason I said our generation, I'm not worried. I'm more worried about the future generations, because they accept AI. They understand. You see them on the iPads, you see them on the phones, you see them with the VR. That's their standard. You and I grew up with coloring books and playing and making up games and just keeping ourselves busy.
Playing doctors and nurses.
Exactly. But my worry is this next generation that one day will be the leaders of tomorrow. One day will be the ones in administration making those decisions. They're going to believe that AI is the gold standard. They're going to believe that this is the way. And to me, even if it's 99.9% correct, like you said, the lights went out, something happens, who's going to drive? Who's going to really be the person? And if there is no person, that scares me. The other second thing that I worry about is the IQ of AI is getting better and better and better. And at some point, it's going to be above any human in the world. And when that happens, I don't know if the AI is making it up or not. And that also worries me, because how do we check it? Do we have another AI to check up on this AI? It's going to be really interesting how we move forward.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big questions of our time is, where's the switch? Is there a plug that can be unplugged if some of those things start to happen? I think we're very aligned on our human approach to AI and really ensuring that it's done in an ethical and responsible way, because I know particularly when it comes to our human body and autonomy and our health, that's the thing that's most personal to us. So ensuring that the ethics and safety and all of that is continued to be considered is really important. So Harvey, when you stand on the hill and you look out, and I feel like the hill's getting smaller and smaller in terms of how far we can see out into the future, what do you think, you've already touched on some of the things, but what do you think the future of healthcare looks like in this new world of AI that we're in?
Yeah, I think it'll be a great summary by saying, and I know it sounds scary, so don't get scared at this point for some of the people listening. Imagine a nurse that may have a bad back. Someone that's helping lift our patients, walk them to the bathroom, and they say, Harvey, I am retiring because my back cannot handle this kind of physical labor. And by the year 2030, we'll have about 10 million people, healthcare professionals, that are missing from our workforce. As a result, we'll have an aging population and we won't have enough people working in our facilities around the world. We need something. And to me, that something will be AI plus robots. And what will happen is this entire conversation, all the future stuff will be encapsulated into the robot. And then this robot will be able to see how you walk, listen to how you speak, know if you're lying, know if you're saying the correct thing, and then in real time being able to run your genetics, all your information, and be able to in real time help me, not replace me, help me, so that together we're working to help you. And then for our nurses and individuals that may want to retire early, now we have a robot to do the repetitive work, to do the stuff that humans don't want to do. Let the robot do it. Now I can spend more time with you and give you the best healthcare.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Harvey. Are there any final thoughts that you want to share as we wrap up?
Yeah, final thought. I know for some of us, they may be scared about AI. Look at it like riding a bike. The more you ride it, the more it becomes familiar. The more familiar it becomes, the more it's not as scary. And then with that said, today, what you learned and what you learn around the world, share it with your friends, share it with your family, because the more we all know, the more we know what to do and we know what we don't know. So we can address those issues in the future and address it to help healthcare.
I love that. I love that. Now, Harvey, where would you like people to connect with you? I can see there's a QR code on your screen. Where's that going to take people?
It'll take them to my website. It is Harvey Castro, MD as in medical doctor.com. And then if any social media that you're on, it's just Harvey Castro MD. I made sure that it's the same on all the social media, and I'm happy to help. And then please follow my YouTube channel. I have a lot of cool content out there, and anything that I see kind of geeky and fun, and I give it a healthcare spin, how we could help humanity with it. And if you can, please, please, please go to my TED Talk. Just go to your YouTube, type in Harvey Castro TEDx, and it'll come, and then just put a comment in there, and that'd be great.
Fantastic. And we'll include all of those links in the show notes so that people can find those really easily as well. Thank you so much, Harvey, for sharing all of your insight with us today. I've loved having this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the AI Grapple. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and colleagues and subscribe on your favourite podcast platform. We would love to hear your thoughts, so reach out with any questions or comments about the show. Until next time, keep grappling with AI and stay curious.